Welcome to this forgiveness practice. In this exercise, you will have an opportunity to connect to feelings of forgiveness, to experience the healing power of forgiveness. When we encounter a difficult situation, feelings of forgiveness can help you move from anger and fear and hatred to feelings of love. So let's start. Just take a few deep breaths and get comfortable in the room you're in. Ideally, you'll be sitting or laying down, and you'll be somewhere where you will be undisturbed and can close your eyes. Let's work on a specific situation. So bring to mind a situation that's causing you distress. It could be a grievance that you have with another person, or perhaps it's a grievance regarding a particular situation, or maybe it's even a grievance that you have with yourself. And forgiveness, to many of us, it's more of a concept than an experience or a feeling. And in this practice, we're going to try to connect to the feeling of forgiveness, or forgiveness as an energy, forgiveness as an emotion or a feeling, rather than an idea. A great way to start is actually by forgiving yourself. Sometimes when we're upset, it's not always the situation or the other person that's actually causing us pain. Sometimes just holding a grievance against a situation or with someone is what causes our distress. So let's start by connecting with the feelings of forgiveness for yourself. So if your situation involves another person where you are judging them for doing something or not doing something, just forgive yourself for holding that grievance. Forgive yourself for having that view of somebody else. Forgive yourself for condemning the other person or their behavior. And forgiveness is really a feeling that you feel in your heart, in your chest area. So just try now to forgive yourself. Connect to that feeling of forgiveness. Forgive yourself for finding yourself in this situation. Or forgive yourself for having a judgment against somebody else. So connect to your heart area. And you can say in your mind, I forgive myself for finding myself in this situation. I forgive myself for being upset with somebody else. And see what feeling you have in your heart when you attempt to forgive yourself. Forgiveness is like a muscle. We don't always know that we have it until we start to use it. And sometimes when we search for that feeling of forgiveness, it can feel like an empty space because it's not a emotion that we tap into very often. Like a muscle that we don't use. Sometimes I compare it to someone who can wiggle their ears. I can't wiggle my ears, but I know the muscles are there because other people can do it. And if I were to practice wiggling my ears, eventually I would locate those muscles and be able to wiggle my ears. And forgiveness is a little bit like that. So don't be surprised if it feels like an empty space in your heart as you look for that feeling of forgiveness. But just keep saying to yourself, I forgive myself. And then just be curious and see if you have any energetic experiences in your heart. I forgive myself for finding myself in this situation, or I forgive myself for holding a judgment against somebody else. For me, forgiveness is like a bridge that takes me from anger and rage to more loving feelings. And forgiveness feels a little bit like love. So just keep experimenting now as you forgive yourself and say to yourself, I forgive myself for being in this situation or for having this problem or for making that judgment. And it's a great way to start a forgiveness practice by focusing on forgiving yourself. You can even forgive yourself for struggling with forgiveness. I forgive myself for not being able to find that feeling of forgiveness. And the more you practice with trying to generate the feeling of forgiveness or connecting to the feeling of forgiveness, like a muscle, it will start to grow. And this is an alternative to problem solving or beating yourself up or feeling guilty when you encounter a difficult situation. Instead of doing those things, I recommend that you tap into the feeling of forgiveness and forgive yourself for finding yourself in this situation. And over time, the more you try to connect to the feeling of forgiveness, the easier it will become. And it's really a way of loving yourself. To me, forgiveness is a feeling I feel in my chest. It feels very warm and soft and gentle. It's soothing. It connects me to love. It helps me to love myself when I go through something difficult. And it's a very worthwhile practice to learn. Just to keep experimenting and seeing if you can flood your heart area with feelings of forgiveness, and start by forgiving yourself. Thank you.